Hi everyone, this week we are going to talk about sociological research. So the objectives for this particular set of presentations that we'll be going through today is to first of all gain a basic understanding of the social research process and its components. As we'll discuss today, sociology is a science, and to be considered a science, it means that a lot of the work that we do as sociologists is collecting and analyzing data about the social world that we live in and producing findings that go under a very rigorous process called peer review to generate further knowledge and further understanding of theories and previous research in this particular field of science. So we're going to talk a lot about the specific process that it takes to conduct science, particularly sociological research, which of course is going to be research that has to do with human interactions and better explaining patterns of human behavior in societies. We're also going to compare and contrast several different research methods. As we'll talk about later in this presentation, sociologists use multiple different methods to collect the data that they end up analyzing to help better understand our social worlds. So we'll take a closer look at several of those that are most commonly used, specifically in the field of sociology. And then another overall objective of this presentation is to be able to articulate the significance of sociological research. So by the end of this presentation, hopefully you'll have an understanding about why it's so important that we do research as sociologists. Something I think a lot of students don't realize is that as professors at this university, research is a pretty substantial component of our careers here. You know, a lot of people just think of professors as being teachers at the college level, and while teaching is a large portion of our job, it's typically somewhere between, I'd say anywhere between 30 to 70, 80% of a professor's job is teaching, depending on the type of university they're at. For instance, here at TAMUCC, teaching and research are equal components of most of the professors' jobs that work here, meaning that in addition to teaching several courses each semester, we're also expected to be producing our own research continuously throughout our careers as college professors. So learning the ins and outs of the research process is definitely an important aspect of a sociologist. And beyond just college professors, many of the careers that majors in sociology would pursue involve some form of social research. So let's start by discussing in a little more detail what specifically makes sociology a science. Well, a science is a particular way of knowing that attempts to systematically collect and categorize facts or truths. So in sociology, we are systematically trying to better understand and predict human behaviors and human interactions in any given society. Science is systematic in that the information is gathered and analyzed in organized, intentional manner that has been premeditated. So this is really important aspect of scientific inquiry, right? This is what distinguishes science from just a general opinion that someone may have, right? Science is systematic, it is planned, it is meticulous. You know, we have to consider many different variables when we're conducting science or through sociological research, or in any field for that matter, right? Not everyone can just say that their ideas or their opinions are scientifically grounded because of their own personal experiences, right? In order for something to be considered science, it has to go through a very rigorous process, and that's to ensure that the information that gets generated and labeled as being a truth or a fact in our society is really proven to be that. Sociology is a social science, which means we are interested in studying human societies and behaviors. I've talked about that before, and again, just remembering that just because we are a social science does not mean that we can slough off with our research methods. It does not mean we can slough off with the systematic organization of how we go about collecting and analyzing data, and it does not mean that everyone's personal opinions count as science. Again, research needs to be very meticulous, and as we'll see in this presentation today, I'm covering in one presentation what I cover in an entire course. I teach social research methods here at TAMUCC as well. So this is going to be a real quick crash course on the research process, but as you'll see in this presentation, there's a lot of components that go into developing a sociological research project. So let's talk more specifically about some characteristics of science. So science first and foremost relies on what we call empirical evidence, which is information that researchers gather from many different forms. It could be from observations, from experimentation, or other methods of data collection to answer questions. So this is the first step in conducting a research project that would contribute to science, is that we rely on empirical evidence. We do not rely on opinion. We do not rely on biases that we may have. We collect data that represents something that we're trying to study. We analyze that data, and using that empirical evidence, based on the findings that we generate from that empirical evidence, we offer answers to specific questions. So everything needs to be grounded in data. It needs to be supported by things that are actually going on, not things that we just anticipate are going to happen or things that we want to see happening. We need to really focus on what data is presented to us, and the way we do that is by collecting empirical evidence. Science also strives to be objective, which means we try to uncover truths about the social world by eliminating personal biases, emotions, and false beliefs. Again, this is a very important aspect of science. This is what distinguishes everyone's general opinions about something versus scientific fact, is that science is objective. You know, as researchers, we might hypothesize or anticipate that we're going to find something, but again, we don't make exaggerations, we don't overgeneralize anything. We look at the empirical evidence that we've collected, we analyze that data, and based off of what the data says, we make answers. And so that's what being objective or having objectivity in our research means. We eliminate our biases, we eliminate our personal opinions, and we really just analyze the data that we're collecting. Science should also be reliable, which means the extent to which the results of a study can be reproduced when the research is repeated under the same conditions. So this is another important aspect of research, the ability to replicate a study. In science, we always want to ensure that the studies that we're conducting can be replicated by other researchers, and this is just a good practice to get into to ensure that we're not, again, that we're being objective, that we are not letting our opinions, our own personal biases influence our findings. And so reliability, the consistency of a research method to be able to be replicated by others, helps us test and retest the findings that we're generating to ensure that we are definitely reproducing facts and not just something that just happened by chance. And the last characteristic of science we'll talk about is validity, which is the extent to which the results really measure what they are supposed to measure. So in social science, as we'll talk more in just a little bit here, researchers often focus on variables that they want to learn something about, right? So for example, maybe we want to better understand what variables or what factors might influence murder rates in a given city. This is a really popular example in sociology of research that was not valid. So years ago, some social scientists were analyzing data about murder rates in specific cities, and what they found was that there seemed to be a positive correlation between ice cream sales and murder rates. Specifically, the more ice cream sales a particular city had, the higher their murder rates were. And this got a lot of buzz by the media, and this was getting blown kind of out of proportion. Ice cream sales correlate with murder rates in cities. Well, other social scientists started scratching their heads and thinking this seems like kind of a bizarre correlation between these two variables that shouldn't seemingly have a significant relationship to one another. And as other scientists started kind of peeking at the study, what they were realizing is that it wasn't ice cream sales that was driving murder rates, it was the heat. The hotter it was outside, the more murders occurred in a city. And this made more sense because the hotter it is, people are more agitated when it's warm outside, and that likely resulted in higher rates of violent responses to certain behaviors and therefore increased the murder rates in that city. So in that instance, the original findings that were being produced by that study definitely were not valid, right? The results really weren't measuring what they were supposed to be measuring. Ice cream sales really weren't correlated with higher murder rates. It was this other variable that the researchers overlooked, the heat. So it's important to have reliable and valid research, meaning that your studies, again, can be replicated by others and that the findings that you're producing really represent the variables or the aspects of social life that you are trying to measure. So these are just a few characteristics that all science should have, whether it's sociological science or physical science, etc. So let's start talking a little more about social research. What specifically is social research? Well, social research strives to explain patterns in society, we strive to predict human behaviors and outcomes, and we try to better understand social life and address social problems. Doing research enables us to generate facts, which enables us to test and build theories, which enables us to understand and predict social phenomenon. So like I said, this ability to generate facts, to call something a truth, right, or to say that it's a fact, requires a really rigorous research process. And when we generate enough facts, it enables us to build and test what we'll call theories. And next week we'll be talking specifically about the main sociological theories that are used in our discipline. And when we develop those theories, which are essentially just frameworks that help us explain and predict human behaviors, it enables us to better understand the societies that we live in, and it helps us predict problems that might happen, and it helps us generate potential solutions to those problems as well. So let's talk about the scientific method. Anyone you talk to, any researcher might say that there's a different number of stages in the scientific method. I'm following what the textbook suggests this week, which is a 6-tiered approach. So the first stage is asking the question. Second stage, research existing sources. The third stage, formulating hypothesis and research question. Fourth is designing the study. Fifth is conducting the study itself and drawing conclusions. And sixth is reporting the results. So let's take a closer look at each of these different stages of the of the scientific method. First, we ask a question. So how do you choose a topic for sociological research? How do you even begin a research project? Well, the biggest thing I always tell my students is that when you're choosing a topic for a social research study, you should ask yourself 2 questions. So what? Who cares? Right? If you're doing a research study, you should have those 2 questions locked down. So what and who cares? What are the broader implications of your study? What could it offer or contribute to society? What new knowledge or what new facts could be produced that haven't already been discovered by previous research? So when we're in social research, we want to look for something related, obviously, to human behaviors, attitudes, and or outcomes, right? So sociologists, we're not going to be, for example, conducting research in labs to try and generate a new vaccine for COVID-19, right? Now, does that vaccine have an impact on human behavior? Absolutely. But that's medical research, right? In sociology, we do social research. We try to understand human behaviors and their attitudes. We try to understand why humans have certain biases or prejudices. We try and predict if certain demographics like gender, race, or socioeconomic status have an impact on how a human is going to respond to something or the attitudes that they may have. So your social research topic should also be something that you and other people are interested in. As we'll talk about in this presentation today, research is an extremely time-consuming process. Oftentimes, sociologists will work on research projects for several months, up to several years, even decades of your life will be dedicated to conducting research. So it's important that you have a vested interest in the topic that you're studying. For me personally, my areas of expertise are gender, sexuality, family, and health. So a lot of the research I work on examines the experiences, behaviors, and discrimination that members of the LGBT plus community face. And that's a topic that I'm very vested in. I'm very interested in better understanding the experiences of the LGBT plus community. And because I'm interested in that particular topic, it makes my research a lot more interesting to me, obviously. It makes me a lot more impassioned about conducting my research, which definitely helps make this process a lot easier and more enjoyable. You should also consider topics that are culturally and politically relevant. So again, asking the questions, who cares and so what? Your research really should speak to a broader audience. There should be some broader implications or broader impacts that your research conducts, not just doing science for the sake of science, but really trying to extend our knowledge or understanding of a certain topic. And lastly, you should question, how could a sociological study be beneficial for this topic? Again, in sociology, we're studying patterns of human behaviors, we're trying to better understand human interactions, human attitudes, etc. So it's important to think about how your study specifically would fit sociologically and not just be something, like I said, research for the sake of research.